Welcome back to What the Tech. I'm your host, Troy Vermillion, and today we have an amazing guest, and she's actually made it her business to streamline repetitive and redundant messaging and honestly to eliminate the need for the dreaded copy and paste we've all become accustomed to. Why does this matter? I'd say for productivity's sake. That's why. In all seriousness, how many of the messages we send every single day could be and should be templatized and easy to access? And how much time could we save if these templates were at our fingertips and able to be personalized for each recipient on the fly anywhere you're communicating on the internet? Sound good to you? I think it does. So stay tuned and find out how all of this is possible. All right, this week's guest on What the Tech is not just any old technology founder. She's actually a social media guru and a world-renowned LinkedIn expert who's actually been featured on Forbes and BuzzFeed, CNN, Entrepreneur, Selling Power, and the Social Media Examiner. She's wrote 2 books, 2 amazing bestsellers, LinkedIn Marketing, an hour a day to try to simplify it, and 101 ways to rock LinkedIn. And with all of that crazy success and experience in social media, she actually decided to do what we all dream of doing. That's right. She started a software company. And I have to say it's a fantastic platform that's already helping so many get more done. So I'd like to welcome my next guest, Viveka van Rosen, the co-founder and chief evangelist of the new platform, FlyMSG by Vingresso. Hey, Viveka, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. And honestly, I think that's the first time I've done a podcast in the new position, in the new role. So I was like, oh, I sound so impressive.
Yeah, just adding things to that resume that's already like 6 miles long, right? You really have done so much on LinkedIn, and me being kind of a connoisseur for obvious reasons on LinkedIn, really impressed with what you've been able to accomplish there. So I did want to touch on that for a second. Like, sure. Why are you so passionate about LinkedIn?
You know, I discovered it a long, long time ago. And for me, it was the great equalizer. For people in the business world, it really allowed you to reach out, connect, and engage with anyone you needed to. Potential vendors, potential clients, potential employees, and start those conversations. And we had so much success with it, both in my original business, LinkedIn to Business, and then Vingresso, which we started 6 years ago. And then, of course, along comes the pandemic, and there are more people needing to learn how to sell virtually, and we were kind of perfectly set up for that. So it's been a lifesaver for me. Otherwise, I'd probably still be managing a co-share space. So I'm like really excited that I discovered LinkedIn 16 years ago.
Yeah, such a great equalizer. You can really reach out, and if you have the right messaging, it's personalized enough. You can really bend the ear of just about anybody if you really think about it. I almost had Dan Cathy from Chick-fil-A come on. He is actually transitioning out of Chick-fil-A, but almost got him with a message on LinkedIn.
Oh, so close.
Maybe he'll come on here sometime.
Exactly. Maybe with whatever he's doing next, because he'll be the founder of something new. So
that's right.
Yeah, you'll just get him next time. But that's the thing, right? So on LinkedIn, you can keep track of people, like you can do with a Rolodex, like you can do with the CRM system. But there's something about the instancy and the engagement that's possible on LinkedIn. Now, mind you, most people do it wrong. And most people think it's a big spam fest because most people do it wrong. But you said it. If you reach out with the right type of messaging, with the right type of engagement, basically do what your mama would have taught you to do, which is like be human. Be human and do unto others. It's not rocket science.
Yeah. No, fantastic points. So I wanted to dive into maybe a fun fact of Viveka that maybe not everybody knows that she shared with me that I thought was pretty cool. So she loves to travel. Which, who doesn't, right? But she actually does some of it. And she actually spends a significant amount of time in Costa Rica every single year. And I'm curious, how in the world did that start?
Well, ironically enough, right before COVID started, we bought a house in Belize. Well, we thought we bought a house in Belize. And so, we did everything we had to do in order to buy a house in Belize. And we had, created a trust and all this kind of stuff. And then our builder just ghosted us. And
Really?
somehow there was a clause that allowed him to do that. So we basically, I wish it was way more thoughtful than this, but we basically had what we needed to invest in a second home available to invest into something. So, and I'm not kidding. We Googled best places for expats. And so Portugal came up, but we wanted to be in the same-ish time zone. Belize came up. Well, clearly that wasn't going to happen. And Costa Rica came up. Now, we'd only been here once before, and it was only for like a day trip off of a cruise going zip lining, but we loved it. So we're like, okay, so where's the best place in Costa Rica for expats? And this place, Ojochal, came up, which happened to have some of the best restaurants in Costa Rica. So we just started looking for houses in Ojochal, and we found about 12 or 13 that we really liked. And again, this is now we're into 2021, and so we've been at this about 8 months. And when we were sending it to our realtor that we found on the internet by Googling best realtors in Ojochal, I'd kind of given away my favorite, because the house we're actually in right now, the one we bought, I named our house, and then everything else was like, yellow tile house, bamboo roof house, double house, greenhouse, but this one was our house. So I think he saw the buying signal there. Anyway, long story short, that's how we ended up in Costa Rica. And we absolutely love it. The people are amazing here. It's got a decent infrastructure. When the internet works, it's actually better than where we live in Colorado. The food is great. The nature is great. I went on a walk today. I saw squirrels, which is actually unusual for here. I saw monkeys. I saw poisonous frog. I saw toucans. And it's amazing, the wildlife that's right outside your window, like literally right outside my window right now. So
the biodiversity there is insane. Yeah.
It is.
And I was also reading that it's one of the happiest places in the world.
It is. And it's, and I think a part of that is because they've got it's either 92 or 98% literacy rate, which is significantly higher than that in the U.S.,
right,
which is shocking. It's got the 8th best medical in the world. My doctor trained in the U.S. My doctor here trained in the U.S. I mean, it's just, which is not to say that the U.S. is the best, but it's
right.
if for people who are concerned about things like that, you can actually get medical care. The cost of living is low. But to your point, it's one of the happiest places in the world, and the people are absolutely lovely. I mean, and I'm learning Spanish, so they're even lovelier.
That's great. Some countries don't like it when foreigners move in. But if you're the happiest place on earth, I would guess that you would expect that, right?
Exactly. Well, and I mean, we are kind of a pain in the rear end. I'll admit it. I mean, us in our ways, but they put up with us, so I'm grateful for it.
Hey, God bless them for that. So let me ask you this. We're going to jump into, I like to call it awkward moments. In this case, I'm going to ask you some trivia about Costa Rica,
Okay.
which should be fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I might
great.
learn something, right?
Well, you know what? I learned some things. So that's one of the best parts about doing this is I get myself out of my normal 9 to 5, and I really intensely try to learn about people and what they do and what's important to them, places that they live, right? Yeah. And so I just learn new things. It forces me to learn new things. So I really enjoy it. And so I learned some new things about Costa Rica. And so, okay. I have the answers, so it's not really fair to you, but these shouldn't be too hard, and it'll be fun to learn a couple new facts if you don't know them.
Okay, exactly. I think I'm about to learn a lot of new facts.
Yeah, well, you're
on
living
me.
there part-time, so you might as well learn these things, right?
See.
All right.
That's bad.
Here's the first one. True or false? The national anthem plays on the radio every morning in Costa Rica. Who listens to radio anymore, right?
Yeah, I was going to say. Well, yeah, they play the radio a lot here. I'm going to say true.
True. It is absolutely true.
Yeah. They fly the flag everywhere here. I thought it was a team, but no, it's actually the flag. They're very patriotic in Costa Rica, so that doesn't surprise me.
Awesome. Yeah, no. I thought it was fantastic because obviously I think in the U.S. You remember when TV used to shut off?
Yeah,
and it would play like the national anthem and then it'd shut off for the night.
Get the lines. Yeah, exactly. We just aged ourselves, but yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay,
there
next
was
one.
an end to Netflix at one time, right?
There was. It's not just an endless stream. You have to go to bed or,
Yeah, exactly.
You have to go somewhere else. You can't stay here.
You go somewhere. You can't stay here.
All right, next one. True or false? Does Costa Rica have more than 5 active volcanoes?
Yes.
Yes, which was a cool fact. I was like, such a small country. It's not a giant country. They got 5 volcanoes.
I know, and I only know that because we were in Fortuna last April, which is where I think 4 of the 5, or I think there's 7 or 8. I don't remember how many there are, but I'm glad you didn't ask me that question. But yeah, and they're like, oh yeah, that one's, you can see that one smoking. That one erupted like 10 years ago. I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah.
It's insane.
It's
insane. I thought that for whatever reason, and this is just my own, I guess, I'm just uneducated. I thought really Iceland was the only place like that, to be honest with you, because they got a bunch of them. But
they have a bunch of them.
Wrong.
Well, and Hawaii, but
Hawaii, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's not like Pamplona explosion type.
Right.
I mean it's a little bit of smoke and a little bit of lava. Although
little
I think it did little bubbly, but I think it did destroy a city. But it's slow moving lava. It's not like end of the world destruction type stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool. What a cool place.
Cool.
All right, next one. So what does Costa Rica mean?
Coast of Rats?
It's rich. So it's,
rich. That's
rich
so
coast.
much better than rat. Oh, I
Yes.
was thinking Raton. I was thinking Boca Raton, mouth of the rat. Okay, yeah. Rich, the rich coast, yes.
Yes. Which makes total sense, right?
It does.
A lot of coast.
Like you said.
Yeah.
lot of coastline and a lot of biodiversity. And the other thing I really love about, at least where we live, is you're not allowed to build anything. Well, basically, gringos aren't allowed to build anything on the other side of the highway. So anything that's on the other side of the highway is Tico owned, which is local, which is not. It's accepted slang. Is local owned, and it's never more than I think 1 or 2 stories, which is wonderful. Because otherwise, this would be Hawaii.
Right. Yeah. That's great. I also read that you could actually Costa Rica is one of the places where you can see a sunrise and sunset in the same day. Yeah, so you can travel from one side of the country
to the other. It goes like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it totally does, because I was like, what are you talking about? But no, you're absolutely right. We're so close to the equator.
Yeah.
And we noticed that where we live, we've got a view of the ocean's west, so we see the sunset. But we notice that the sun sets like here and here and here and here and here and here, like it moves. So yeah, I can see where you could see the sunrise and sunset on the same side. Yep.
Pretty cool.
That's
Fun
crazy.
fact.
Yeah.
All right. So true or false? Costa Rica boasts a very large army for its size.
Big F false. They disbanded
Yes.
the army in 1956,
Yes.
58.
Yeah.
They don't have any army at all.
Isn't that crazy?
And I mean, they're sounded like Panama, Nicaragua, Ecuador, Argentina, Colombia. But yeah, no army. They put all of their money into education, into healthcare, into the ecosystem. I love it.
Yeah, it was I read something. It said disbands their army for an army of teachers. I was like, well, no wonder the literacy is so high, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that blew me away. I love it.
That is pretty cool. All right.
Not even Canada doesn't have an army. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, for real, right?
right?
All right, a couple more here. So what direction do the majority of churches in Costa Rica face?
Oh, geez, I have no idea. We were just talking about the other day that we actually don't see churches here because most of the churches and the schools are combined and they're just lower buildings. I'm going to say west only because...
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. And they don't know why, because everybody goes out and prays towards Jerusalem for whatever reason in the churches.
Yeah.
And but it's kind of a interesting fact about Costa Rica that I was like, really? And nobody knows exactly why.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've only seen like 3 churchy-looking churches. And
right.
Everything else seems to be in the schools.
Yeah, most of them look kind of Adobe-looking.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
That's
one more
cool.
for you. Yeah, it is kind of cool, right? One more for you. All right.
Okay.
So what is the name of the beach that is shaped like a whale's tail?
Oh, baby, I live next to Balena Beach. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And it is quite literally shaped like a whale's tail, especially at low tide. And you can see the whales off the whale tail. And the Balena Bistro is the best place to have lunch in the Balena Beach. So
really?
And
I'm hitting that up next time I'm in Costa Rica.
Totally. Yeah, it's like 5 minutes. Well, okay. Once you get down our hill, it's like 5 minutes from our house. It's an awesome beach.
Is that right?
Awesome beach. Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's so cool. Everyone should come visit.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, I just doing my research, I was like, man, like, obviously you know about a lot of places, but I was learning so much, and I mean, just how beautiful it is, the ocean there, and the jungles, and you were already talking about, you got toucans and monkeys, but you also got squirrels. We got squirrels here, but we don't have toucans and monkeys.
No, so much the toucan. Yeah, it was amazing because my friend was talking about how much she hated squirrels, and I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't even seen a squirrel here, and then today I saw 3, so. There you go.
Do they look different? Are they a different color than Colorado?
Well, they're like the squirrels from Colorado came here and they all intermix because they have gray tails and red bodies and then very distinctive black and white markings on their faces. So they're really different looking, which is probably why they stood out.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of interesting squirrels because I've lived on the left coast and I've lived on the East Coast and I lived right smack in the middle in Denver. And there are giant gray squirrels in northern, like Washington and Oregon. They're like massive. They're huge. They're huge, and they're just walking around the park. And you're like, hey, they're trying to steal your stuff. And they're a little bit
take
aggressive.
it.
Yeah, not like the ones in Colorado that are teeny and kind of almost pathetic and cute.
Yeah, exactly. Little brown was please feed us.
Interesting.
Exactly. It's so cool.
Well, let's talk about your company. You got a lot of exciting things going on.
I do.
I guess from the very beginning, like what with LinkedIn, what made you feel like you could take a run at that? And then let's kind of move that forward to your newest adventure, which is just kind of an extension of what you've been doing for a long time.
Right. Well, we couldn't, there's no way we could have created FlyMSG without Vengresso. But yeah, I just, for 10 years, 11 years, I had LinkedIn to Business and I was doing LinkedIn training and consulting. And I'll be honest, by the 10th year, I was like, oh my gosh, I can never write another LinkedIn profile again. Like, I cannot do this anymore. And really, I was, okay, what's next for me? Because I just cannot do one more thing on LinkedIn. And then Mario reached out to me in about it was 12 other people, and said, hey, instead of competing, let's create like this Uber digital sales transformation company. And I was like, no way. And then I thought about it a little bit, and I thought, well, I really like these people. Maybe with BrainShare, I could get excited about LinkedIn again.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. So we whittled it down to about 8 people. We met in California, decided if we could work together or not. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of personalities. And that's when we came up with the name Vengresso, which stands for Ventas, and Ingressos, which stands for sales and revenue. So it's a made-up name, but it does stand for sales and revenue, which really can take you through any kind of business that you want. We pretty quickly shrunk down to 6 people and then 4 people. We were 4 people for most of the history of Vengresso. Bernie and Kurt left last year. Bernie was kind of done with what he needed to do with Vengresso and got a great job offer from one of our clients. And I love Bernie to death, Bernie Borges. And then Kurt, oh my gosh, this is so perfect for Kurt. Kurt was invited to head up the, I think it's the NASA wine board or something. It's just like it couldn't be a more perfect position.
Napa.
Napa, thank you.
Napa,
yeah,
okay.
NASA.
I was like, NASA has a wine board?
Yeah, Well, That's another story. Ask me about that later if we have time.
Okay.
But yeah, no, Napa. So now I have to tell the story. My co-author is Dana Steele. Her husband's an astronaut, and she had the first NASA store, the first space store. So they got combined in my head ball. But so Kurt went. So then it was Mario and I, and running Vengresso. We have a wonderful team of people from literally all over the world. And then 2 years ago, because of how we were teaching and training people, we worked mostly with B2B, large enterprise B2B companies, training their sales team on how to use LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, social video to do virtual selling. So it worked out pretty well for us during COVID because that's what everybody needed.
Right.
And we had a live version of it, and I'm also the master trainer, coaching, and then on demand. And one of the things that we would do is we would create these massive 46-page workbooks for our clients, customized to them with messaging that they would need for proper engagement on LinkedIn. As I mentioned earlier, most people do LinkedIn wrong, and so we are like, well, let's give them scripts. Part of that then came, okay, you got to open up this massive workbook of 46 pages. You have to go find a script. You have to customize it to your own voice. Then you have to copy and paste it into the appropriate fields on LinkedIn when the time is right. And guess what? No one did it. So then we're like, okay, let's make it easy. Let's give them the 46 pages of scripts. They have to read through all the scripts. Let's have them customize it. Let's have them copy and paste it into an auto text expander.
Yep.
And then when they're in the right place to send a message, or they see the right buying trigger to send a message, so they only have to put in a short code. But guess what? People were still not doing it. It was too many steps. So then we said, let's create, how hard can it be? Let's create our own auto text expander. So we created FlyMSG, put it on as a Chrome extension, and we loaded all of our workbooks and all of our texts and all of our scripts in there. And that made it way easier because then people could sort, they could find the scripts they wanted, they could delete the ones they didn't want, they could customize it one time, and then they could remember the short code or just do a search for the short code. And then it was, 1 or 2 steps instead of like 14 steps to get them into the practice of using the right messaging at the right time. What we discovered Christmas, basically, almost a year ago, was that a bunch of other people were using our Chrome extension too, like people who were not salespeople. We were very much a B2B salesperson-oriented company,
right?
But we had pharmacists and, drivers from Uber and like all these other use cases, HR use cases, customer service use cases, like I said, pharmacy use cases. That was the biggest one. 100 pharmacists were using FlyMSG to send messages to their patients or to their customers or clients. So we're like, oh, okay, there might be something here. So we looked into what do we really need to develop this as not only a Chrome extension, but an Edge extension, a Safari extension, a Mozilla Foxfire extension, and move it into the world of apps too.
Right.
And we thought, there's probably something to this. So we decided in April to make the shift into being, instead of a training company with a software side, we're now a software company. Now we haven't thrown the baby out with the bathwater because we have over 10,000 hours in development of our training program. So we weren't going to be like, and we're not going to do it anymore. And I'm no longer the LinkedIn expert. We've embedded that into something we call Fly Learning now. So we've embedded that into one type of FlyMSG subscription. But we are now a software company and we've got training. But instead of just B2B, salespeople and sales leaders, we really are available to the up to 1 billion knowledge workers in the world. So ironically, my message for the past 15 years has been the riches is in the niches, and you really need to focus in on your niche audience and speak. And now I'm like, and we help the 1 billion knowledge workers. but truly, we can help anyone who has a bit. We can help anyone who has repeatable messages that they do over and over and over again. And instead of keeping them in a Word doc or an Excel doc or heaven forbid in your inbox, and you have to go look through your mail, like, I know I sent this message before.
Yep.
That could take 10 or 15 minutes. It's still faster than writing the message out again. But it's very, very time consuming. If you've got a repository with your messaging that you can access with literally 2 or 3 keystrokes to populate anywhere online, it's going to save an enormous amount of time. And we've got everything from a freemium version to, like I said, Fly Learning, which I think is $247 a year, not a month, a year. So it's extremely affordable, and it saves such an enormous amount of time.
Yeah, it's an impressive journey. I mean, it was almost born out of necessity. Like, you were like, how do we make this easier? How do we make this easier? Iterate. How do we make this easier? iterate. Because people are inherently lazy. Let's just be honest.
Lazy, or my biggest pet peeve. Okay, I got 2 pet peeves, and they're very similar. Doing something that doesn't get used, right? So I cannot tell you how many in those 10,000. I think that was mostly me in those 10,000 hours. I mean, recording things, and then LinkedIn changes its UI, or for whatever reason we don't end it, and all of that time and effort that went into creating something that never gets used again drives me insane.
Bonkers, yeah.
And just bonkers, and then just wasting time doing stupid tasks. Like, and when I had LinkedIn to Business and when we started Vengresso, people asked, like, what was the number one thing that you would say changed your business when you started? It was hiring people to do what they do best, so I could do what I did best, right? And so delegation was huge. In a way, FlyMSG is a way to delegate that repetitive messaging, but instead of delegating it to a person, you're delegating it to an app, and you do have to type in a couple keystrokes, but like I said, it pulls up the messaging, it plugs it in, you customize it however you need to, and you're done. So It's a matter of seconds or minutes rather than hours.
Yeah, no, I'm all about efficiency. I don't have enough time. I do want to spend more time with my family. I do want to spend more time, on the things that matter, and more time in front of, potential clients. I've been in sales a long time, and I'm always looking for ways to do that. But you're right. There's so many concepts that, teach, okay, well, there's a 14-step process to this, right? Like, and people just don't have maybe they're not just inherently lazy. I do think people are inherently lazy, but they don't have enough focus or time to learn those things, and especially at the speed of business. So we kind of have to keep up with that. And you've probably seen that in your 16 years on LinkedIn. Like, the platform has changed incredibly. In some really positive ways, and some ways that, not so good, right? Of course, like, I had a poll that I put out the other day on, what are your preferences? I've actually been putting one out every single Monday to get feedback from people on, like, how do they like their LinkedIn? And it's funny, like I was asking, like, should you post personal things on LinkedIn? And it was like 50-50, like, on people saying no or yes, like, so what is it, But people just don't have the time, as you said, to really waste on redundancy and repetitive things that can honestly be streamlined, and not necessarily automated, but streamlined. Like, the setup probably takes a little bit of time to, like, here's a template that I use for this. Yeah. Here's a template that I use for this. But once I do that, I don't have to recreate it again and again. I don't have to search for it. I know the short code for it. Dash, I think you're using like a dash message or dash whatever, right? Abbreviation.
Yeah, dash LIM,
right.
Dash, there's various. But to your point, we've built in, and what differentiates us from a lot of the other auto text expanders out there is we've got, I think it's 234 different messages for HR, sales, marketing, customer success, I think, is the 4 use cases right now. But we've got messaging built in and categorized. Now, that is premium package, but for all those people, so you don't even have to come up with the message. You can go, I'm in sales and I need a sales cadence. No problem. We've got it in there. Like, literally all you need to do is put in your name where you need to put in your name, customize the content to, your blog posts or your media or whatever you're sharing with your clients, and then plug it into your own personal Fly messages from our Fly plates, templates, messages, right? So, and that's it. So you don't even have to come up with the scripts. Now, mind you, if you have been using a script, it's been working really well for you. Yes, you can absolutely create your own scripts. And not only that, releasing hopefully this month, we're working on it. You're going to be able to share your Fly plates within your company to other team members. And so if you've got something that's really working for you, just send it to the rest of your team and they can start using it too. So it really is so much more than an auto text expander. And we are looking at potentially acquiring an AI writing company too. So that now that's even going to help you even more, help to write messages. We don't have that yet, but we're always thinking, what's next? How can we make this even easier, even faster, and help people save even more time in their business so they can focus on what they do best. On what they do best.
I think it's incredible how far technology has come, and honestly, how much more opportunity there is beyond where we're at today to do things. And COVID, as you mentioned, changed so much about the business. Like, I know people are probably tired of talking about COVID, so let's talk about what COVID did for us. Like, COVID certainly opened doors to opportunities for people to be more global. Right. For you to live in Costa Rica and still, be able to engage in business in Colorado or anywhere for that matter.
Anywhere.
And people are feeling more comfortable with it, which is, I think, a huge thing.
It is. I'm really, in some ways, grateful. It, first of all, made me appreciate life. I lost, not to COVID, but I lost both parents in a very short time during the COVID years. And so, life is very, very precious. So it helped me to appreciate that. But to your point, there are so many people who had to pivot their business to make it more virtual, or had to start new businesses. We had the Great Resignation, leave businesses, start. So there's so much new growth, and there's so much new opportunity, and so many new businesses. Now's we might as well start out doing things right.
I wanted to dig in more to kind of your partnership with Mario. I know that I didn't realize that you had so many people involved at the very beginning, but like.
We did. Oh man, did we ever?
And I actually, it gives me more incentive to kind of dig into this, because I think a lot of times people feel like they need a partnership. Maybe sometimes when they don't, and then a lot of times people pick the wrong partners. And I'm not saying that happened in your situation, but picking the right partner is imperative. Like, if you are going to have you need the right people on the bus, right? So maybe talk about your experience, because obviously you guys have been at this for a while. I was watching some of his videos and his perspective on things. I'm confident, based on what I see and what I've heard, you guys are great partners to each other. So maybe talk and elaborate on that as well.
And we're different, and I think that's the biggest thing. I had tried previously doing partnerships on product launches, things like that, when I had linked into business. And inevitably, I picked someone who was like me, because we got along. It didn't work, because we had the same skill sets and we didn't have other skill sets. And so, it just plain old didn't work. And so when we started Vengresso with so many people and massively different skill sets, I think had we been able to meld all of the personalities originally, it would have been great, because we really did have 8 different people with 8 different skill sets, which I said very quickly shrunk down to 4 people. And for a long time, the 4 of us had the right skill sets for what we needed. But as the company grew and we didn't really need a content a content marketing officer anymore, and that's when Bernie's like, well, I'm going to go do that elsewhere, and when we stopped doing corporate sales, we didn't really need a chief sales officer anymore, and that's when Kurt chose to move to Napa, not Nassau. So as we no longer needed skill sets, people were able to remove themselves from the company gracefully, like conscious uncoupling, I guess, if it was a marriage. That often does not happen, as you can imagine. And I certainly hold the greatest respect for all my old partners. They are brilliant at what they do. I still refer out business to several of them because they're brilliant at what they do. And I, it really is more of a cooperative feel than a competitive feel. But I get also that is not the norm. And for me, coming into Vengresso, I thought I for sure had the biggest ego. I was like, I was the most known, I had the most followers, whatever. And I had, the handle at LinkedIn Expert. So I thought, I'm going to come in here with the biggest ego. But what I discovered, and maybe it's just because I'm getting older, or maybe it's because some things are not as important. My voice did not have to be the voice that needed to be heard all the time. And that allowed for other people's expertise to come in, which allowed for much greater growth. And I will be 100% honest with you, there is no way I would want to be CEO. Bless Mario. I don't want to have white hair, and also I don't want I don't want the responsibility of, at one point 49 employees, and I don't want to run a company, and that's not my skill set, as I've learned. So I am so grateful that Mario is my business partner, and he's more than willing to take on those roles. So you have to be willing to be able to adapt for the higher good. And some people are so attached to their companies that when they go into partnership, they're not willing to let go of what needs to be let go of so that you can grow.
Right. Yeah, a great point. That the one I come back to, and I actually interviewed somebody else who said the same thing. It's so imperative that your partner not think like you, not be just a copy of you, right? Because, business needs so much more than just I get it. You got to be like, if you're a solo entrepreneur, you got to be like all those things. But when you're actually trying to grow and scale a business, you need different, streams of thought. You need different expertise, even different preferences, right? On who's going to do what.
No, it's so true. It's so true. And Mario is like 100% a numbers guy. Like everything is by the numbers. And I'm like touchy-feely. So I'm like the nice mom and he's the mean dad. But, you need both. You need both. You really do. You need someone to be the disciplinarian and hold people accountable. And then you need someone that the team can go talk to. And we're mom and dad at Vengresso, really. So... But he is only my work husband. We are both happily married to other people.
Yes. Good to keep those separate. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, definitely.
So you talked a little bit about your ideal prospect, and I'm curious to go a little bit deeper. So you've traditionally been really effective with what you've been doing because you had so much experience in the sales and revenue space, right? And so that is obviously morphing. And, I do believe in there's riches in the niches, but that doesn't mean that your product, that, FlyMSG, can't be really valuable for a variety of different uses. So you've already mentioned customer service. You mentioned some other things. As you know, I'm in the kind of HR and insurance space, right? And which is just loaded with paper and email and communication. It's overwhelming how much stuff there is out there. I think they try to make it confusing so that the average buyer is like, I don't know. That's why I have this guy that does it for me, right? Or girl.
Exactly. The curator of the
That's right. But
exactly.
I'm curious, how is your platform both now and in the future going to be helping people in very complex industries like what I do today?
Yeah, so we obviously are in the low-hanging fruit phase right now. So we know a lot about B2B and sales, and so you will find Fly Learning. We don't have any. All of our training programs are really focused on sales or at least business growth. And it might stay that way. The Fly Learning is probably not going to be a package that your average accountant is going to utilize. That's fine. You don't have to. I mean, that's why we've got different ones, right? We obviously the HR, marketing, customer success, and sales. We have those four things in our business. So we can talk with knowledge about those 4 things, and that's why we have templates for those 4 things, because these are the actual templates that we have used in HR, in customer service, and sales, and marketing. These are the ones that we have used, so we just went, okay, we use these all the time,
right.
boom.
Plug and play.
Now they are templates. What we want to do is help the insurance company, help the financial planner to utilize the structure of FlyMSG with the templates to be able to create their own templates, their own scripts, and then that's why the Fly sharing is so important, because then send it out to other parts of the company. And then of course, the insurance man or woman has a sales department, has customer service, customer success, has HR. So they don't have to recreate the wheel. They can, especially, startups or newer companies that are like, oh my gosh, I have to do everything. Our entrepreneurs, our solopreneurs out there, of which I was one for 10 years, wearing all the hats. How nice would it be if at least some of that weight was taken off my shoulders because the scripts had already been created. So we're trying to help the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, with what they need. We're trying to help people in marketing, sales, customer service to templatize their engagement. And we are utilizable by the 1 billion knowledge workers. If you repeat messages over and over again, get the free version of FlyMSG. You probably don't need all the other stuff that's available for sale between $3 and $10 a month. But, get the free version and at least save yourself some time that way. And we love technology. So while right now we are primarily an auto text expander with a learning component, we are looking at, AI writing tools. We are looking at potentially, partnering with one of our current video partners or creating Fly video so that you can send video messaging and your script is right there. You turn on the camera, you speak it, it goes into another message, and boom, it goes out. We're looking at Fly CRM. So there are, the whole business suite. We're potentially looking at either building in natively ourselves or partnerships with other companies using things like IFT and other tools out there that allow us to work with CRMs like HubSpot or Salesforce or whatever. So right now it's just a matter, we're obviously in a funding round right now. It's just a matter of hiring the right people to build what we visualize.
Let's talk about funding, because that's something that I enjoy talking about a little bit, and there's a lot of different mindsets and methodologies to do it. We hear about a lot about series funding and things like that and what that looks like. And, they're often throwing, tens of millions of dollars, even in early stage companies. But, yeah, please. Yeah.
We'll take it.
But let's talk about what you've got to, because there are people that are listening to this that, know people or are investors. But you're not just looking for that big investor, not to say that you wouldn't take it, right? But you're also looking kind of grassroots. Yeah. You have individual people that are investing in where you're going. So maybe talk about that and that experience and the opportunity that exists.
Yeah, and it's funny because we hired a consultant to work us through this, because the other thing I appreciate about Mario is he knows what he knows and he knows what he doesn't know. And this was new landscape for both of us. So we did hire a consulting firm. So they were like, no, just go for the VCs, just go for the big money. But because we have fairly decent sized networks, both Mario and I together, we thought, well, crowdfunding makes sense to us. So crowd-funded investing, we're using WeFunder. To get that funding. So yeah, people can invest as little as $100. It actually ends up being $108 because you have to pay service fees. But you can invest in Vengresso with as little as $100. And of course, we can't make any promises. What we can say is, our buddies over at Seamless AI, if you invested $5,000, you walked away with, 80.
Right.
So that's the kind of growth we would love to see for our investors. And I've invested a fair amount of my own private money myself, so I would like to see it for myself too. but we can't make any promises. So, don't invest what you don't have to lose. But that being said, one of my best investment techniques is I give away my time all the time. You need help, I'm going to get on the phone with you, I'm going to help you, and I'm not going to charge you for it because we don't sell one-on-one consulting at Vengresso, so I'm just going to help you out. So my big thing is now, like, it's a win-win situation. I'm going to help you out, you're going to invest in us, and 5 years down the road, we might all be happier for it. But anyway, that's just to say we are using WeFunder for crowdsource funding with as little as $100. And we've gotten checks for $25,000 and $50,000, and that's a slightly different animal. And you can talk to Mario if you want to invest $50,000 or more with us. We're happy to take it, and we've got a safe for it and safe funding for it, and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, if you're just like, oh, that sounds like a really cool thing. I got $500 I got from Aunt Martha. I'm gonna plug it in there. What else was I gonna do with it? Buy shoes?
Yeah,
Maybe.
Probably, right? Yeah.
Probably. If it was me, I was going to buy shoes with it. So now I'm buying stock instead, right?
I love it.
Or the promise of stock, I guess.
Well, it's a real opportunity for people, and it doesn't, it could be $100, it could be $500, right? And that helps you guys, develop the platform, and you're good people. So, that's good in my book. So walk me through last couple things here as we kind of round the bases into home. I always like to ask my guests to really kind of summarize 3 things that I think are pretty powerful to somebody who's listening today. So, if you were talking to a wannabe, maybe non-techie, technology founder, or somebody who's got a great idea and they want to take it online, knowing what you know now, what are 3 things that you would say, do these 3 things? Maybe you didn't know these before, maybe you did. And then one thing you'd say you maybe guard against or, caution against.
Yeah. So, the combination of do your research and trust your gut. Both for Vengresso, when we started Vengresso, and certainly when we looked at FlyMSG, Mario's our research guy. He was looking at the numbers. He had all the numbers, how many text expanders are out there and what kind of business are they doing and how many people are using it and who would our competition be and, et cetera, et cetera. So he's looking at all the numbers. And so do your research, get the numbers, make sure it's feasible. And then with me, it was like, trust my gut. Is this something that even if all the numbers were great, if my gut was like, nope, I wouldn't have done it. And the same thing with Vengresso. When we started, I had to ask myself and check in a bunch of times, and I didn't do as much research as I should have, but it did work out. But it is both a combination of do your research, trust your gut. So that would be number 1. Because if you do all the research in the world and your gut's saying no,
right,
don't do it. But don't just go on a whim like, oh, I'm so excited, because a lot of times that yes is not necessarily a yes. It's it's new, it's a shiny object, I'm going to go do that. And then you're like, oh, wait, that wasn't a yes. That was just a shiny object. So you need that. You need really both of those things. The other thing has been true for me in all my businesses from the beginning of time, which I've already mentioned. Do what you do best and let other people do the rest. Do not try to wear every hat in your business. Do not try to be a master of all things, because eventually you're going to fail. And even Mario, who really does a good job and he has worn almost every hat in our company, he realized that we had never done funding before. Maybe we should get some help on that. We hadn't built a software product before. Maybe we should get some help on that. So do what you do best. Let other people do the rest. Another piece of advice is, one thing not to do. I'm trying to think of the third thing to do. The one thing not to do is start with 12 partners.
Yeah.
So that goes to the one thing to do is you want to make sure that you have partners with different. That's the third yes, or the third thing you want to do is, if you go into partnership, make sure you have partners with different skill sets. Don't go in with your best buddy who's exactly like you, because then you're doubling up on a good thing, but it's not going to result in much business. And you might end up hating each other after. So just if you are going to go into a partnership, make sure that you can work together, but make sure that you've got different skill sets that are complementary that will help to grow the business. And then my one, don't start with.
Yeah, that's a lot of partners.
That's a lot of partners. I mean, it's extremely lucky we ended up with the 4 and then the 2 that we did.
It worked out the way it was supposed to, but not for sake that you were trying to mess it up.
Not for everybody. Yeah,
one partner for every month of the year, right?
Yeah, that's actually right. You take January,
right.
You take February, you take March. That's an interesting business.
That's what, everybody else gets 11 months off. Let's see how that works.
Exactly. Oh, I kind of like that.
Right.
Wait, I want to try that. That's going to be my next business venture.
Look, I don't have many good ideas, but there's one. This is probably a horrible idea.
Forget the 4. It's not the 4-hour work week. It's the.
That's
1
right.
month
That's
work
right.
week. Okay.
You just,
okay.
But you die in that
All
month,
right.
so it's going to be a horrible death.
Well, there's that part.
You just want to be the 12th person, right? Not the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on here, Viveka. This was a really good conversation. I always like to ask, where can people find you if they want to hire, connect with you, follow, buy your stuff, or ring your doorbell?
Awesome. If you, at least for the foreseeable future, if you Google LinkedIn expert, you'll see my LinkedIn profile. So that's an easy way to find me because my name is hard to remember and everyone spells our company wrong. So if you just Google LinkedIn expert, you'll find my LinkedIn profile. Everything's on there. Our website, my contact information, like anything you could possibly want to know about Vengresso, Viveka, or FlyMSG is there. And then, of course, if you want to go to FlyMSG.io, FlyMSG.io, FlyMSG, you can. It will take you to it actually takes you to the Vengresso homepage, but since everybody spells Vengresso with 2 S's and there's only one, FlyMSG.io will take you to where you need to go to learn more about our auto text expansion software.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate everybody listening in today. Make sure you boop the like button for Viveka and all the nuggets she shared with you today. And to all my techies out there, we'll see you next week.